Julian's key turned in the lock at 6:47 a.m. He stepped into the house, already forming excuses in his mind. The business dinner ran late. His phone died. Traffic was impossible. The usual lies that Simone had stopped questioning months ago, her silence more damning than any argument. The house felt wrong immediately. Not wrong like something broken or misplaced. Wrong like the absence of breath. Like standing in a room where someone died. Julian dropped his briefcase by the door, the thud echoing too loud in the stillness. Simone. His voice cracked the silence but received no answer. He walked through the living room. The couch where Simone spent most nights nursing their daughter, too tired to make it back upstairs, sat empty. The baby blankets that usually draped over the armrest were gone. The burp cloths that decorated every surface like tiny white flags of surrender, vanished. Julian's heart started hammering as he climbed the stairs two at a time. Simone. Baby, I'm home. Their bedroom door stood open. The bed was made with hospital corners, something Simone never did. She always left it rumpled, too exhausted from caring for their 3-week-old daughter to bother with appearances. His side was untouched, sheets pulled tight. Her side looked like it had never been slept in. He threw open her closet. Empty. Wire hangers swayed on the rod like skeletons. The shoe rack that usually overflowed with her sneakers and flats, bare. No. No, no, no. Julian ran to the nursery, his dress shoes slipping on the hardwood floor. He grabbed the doorframe to steady himself and looked inside. The crib was gone. The changing table, gone. The rocking chair where Simone sang lullabies at 3 a.m. while Julian was out doing things he'd convinced himself didn't count as betrayal, gone. Only the pale pink paint on the walls remained, the color they'd chosen together back when they still made plans together. Back when he still came home. Julian pulled out his phone with shaking hands. Simone's number went straight to voicemail. Not the voicemail with her voice, soft and musical, saying, "You've reached Simone, leave a message." A robotic voice, "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." He tried again. Same robot. Same emptiness. Julian sank to the floor of the nursery, his back against the wall where the crib used to be. His $1,000 suit crumpled around him. He pressed his palms against his eyes, trying to think, trying to understand. She left. His wife left. She took their baby and left while he was with Natasha, while he was pretending his old life didn't exist, while he was being someone he didn't recognize. His phone buzzed. For one desperate second he thought it might be Simone. Instead it was Natasha. "Last night was amazing. When can I see you again?" Julian stared at the message until the words blurred. Last night. While he was with Natasha in a hotel room with champagne and silk sheets, Simone was here, packing up their daughter, erasing herself from his life. He stumbled downstairs to his office. Maybe she left a note. People always left notes in movies, some explanation, some breadcrumb trail to follow. His desk was exactly as he'd left it. Papers scattered, coffee mug with a ring stain, laptop closed. Nothing from Simone. Julian opened his laptop and pulled up their bank accounts. His business accounts were untouched. But their joint savings account, the one they'd built together over 5 years of marriage, half the money was gone. Simone had withdrawn exactly 50% down to the last penny. She didn't take more than her share. She didn't clean him out. She took what was hers and nothing else, which somehow made it worse. This wasn't emotional. This was calculated. His wife had planned this. Julian called her mother, his hands shaking so hard he nearly dropped the phone. "Hello?" Mrs. Richards answered on the fourth ring, her voice wary. "It's Julian. Is Simone there? Is the baby there?" Silence stretched for 3 heartbeats. "Why would my daughter be here, Julian?" "She's gone. She left. The house is empty and I can't reach her and I don't know where." "Maybe you should have thought about that before." Her voice turned to ice. "Don't call here again." The line went dead. Julian tried Simone's sister, her best friend from college, her cousin in Atlanta. Each conversation was shorter than the last. Each person knew something he didn't. Each voice held the same edge of disgust. They knew. Somehow they all knew what he'd done. By noon, Julian sat in his kitchen, their kitchen, surrounded by the ghost of a life he'd destroyed. The coffee maker still had grounds from whenever Simone last used it, days ago probably. Her favorite mug with the chipped handle sat in the drainer. The calendar on the fridge still showed last month, the due date circled in red marker with little hearts drawn around it. He remembered that day. He'd been at that boutique hotel downtown, telling Natasha about his business expansion plans, kissing her neck while his wife labored with their child. Julian's phone buzzed again. His mother this time. Julian, what in God's name did you do? Mom, Simone's mother just called me. She's furious. She says you drove her daughter away. She says you broke that girl's heart. His mother's voice cracked. Please tell me it's not true. Please tell me you didn't do what I think you did. Julian couldn't speak. The words lodged in his throat like stones. Oh, Julian. His mother started crying. Your father would be so disappointed. She hung up. Everyone kept hanging up on him. As the sun set on the empty house, Julian walked through each room like a man visiting a crime scene. Because that's what it was, wasn't it? The scene of a murder. Not of a person but of trust, of vows, of the family they could have been. In the master bathroom he found the only thing Simone left behind. On the counter, next to where her makeup used to be, sat her wedding ring. Not thrown dramatically, not placed in anger. Just set down gently, like she was setting down a weight she'd carried too long. Julian picked it up. The diamond caught the bathroom light, throwing rainbows across the white tile. He'd spent 3 months' salary on this ring 6 years ago, back when he believed in forever, back when he was a different person. Or maybe he was always this person and marriage just gave him more to lose. He slipped the ring into his pocket and walked to the nursery one more time. The pink walls glowed in the dying light. If he closed his eyes, he could almost hear Simone humming those wordless melodies she sang to their daughter. He could almost smell the baby shampoo and milk and that indefinable scent of new life. But when he opened his eyes, there was only emptiness. Simone was gone. His daughter was gone. And Julian was left alone in a house full of furniture and empty of everything that mattered. He did this. Every choice, every lie, every night he didn't come home, they all led here. To this moment. To this silence. Julian pulled out his phone and looked at Natasha's message again. Last night was amazing. He typed back, don't contact me anymore. Then he deleted her number, deleted the message thread, and sat in the dark empty nursery until the night swallowed him whole. But deleting evidence didn't change the truth. His wife was gone. His daughter was gone. And somewhere out there, Simone was starting a life that didn't include him. A life she chose the moment she realized he'd chosen someone else first. 3 weeks and 2 days before Simone vanished, she stood in her kitchen at 2 a.m., nursing her daughter Zara while scrolling through Julian's credit card statement on her phone. She shouldn't have been looking. Some part of her brain, the part that still functioned through the fog of exhaustion and hormones, knew that once she looked, she couldn't unsee it. But her hands moved anyway. The boutique hotel charge from 5 days ago, the same night Julian claimed he was meeting investors in the next city over. The reservation was for one room, not a conference space. The minibar charges came at midnight. The room service order at 1 a.m. for champagne and chocolate-covered strawberries. Simone's breast milk let down at the surge of adrenaline, soaking through her nursing pad. Zara fussed at the sudden flow, pulling back with milk dribbling down her chin. Sorry, baby girl, Simone whispered, adjusting Zara's latch. Mama's just having a moment. A moment. That's what she told herself. Just a moment of suspicion, probably nothing, probably explainable. Julian loved her. He'd cried when Zara was born, kissed Simone's forehead, promised her the world. But the minibar charges didn't lie. Neither did the pattern she'd been ignoring for months. The late nights, the new cologne, the way he stopped reaching for her in bed long before her pregnancy made intimacy difficult. Simone set her phone down before she did something stupid like call Julian at 2 a.m. and demand answers. She had no proof. A hotel charge wasn't proof. It was circumstantial, as he would say. He was a businessman. He stayed in hotels. With champagne at midnight. Zara finished nursing and fell asleep against Simone's chest, her tiny body going limp with that complete surrender only babies managed. Simone held her and stared at the dark kitchen, at the life she'd built with Julian. The custom cabinets, the marble countertops, the espresso machine that cost more than most people's monthly rent. All of it felt hollow. She carried Zara upstairs and placed her in the crib, watching her daughter's chest rise and fall in the dim glow of the nightlight. This tiny person depended on her completely. Zara didn't care about marble countertops or credit card statements. She just needed her mother. Simone climbed into bed, leaving plenty of space on Julian's side, space that stayed empty until nearly 4 a.m., when she heard his car in the driveway. She closed her eyes and evened out her breathing, pretending to be asleep because the alternative was confronting him, and she was too tired for the fight. Julian slipped into bed, smelling like bourbon and something floral that wasn't Simone's perfume. He didn't reach for her. He never did anymore. The next morning, Simone fed Zara and changed diapers and pretended everything was fine. Julian came downstairs in his running clothes, kissed the top of her head, a brotherly gesture, affectionless, and headed out for his morning jog. Simone picked up his phone from where he'd left it charging. Her fingers hovered over the screen. She'd never been the snooping type. She trusted him completely. But trust was a luxury she couldn't afford anymore, not when she had a daughter to protect. The phone was locked, but Simone knew his passcode, his mother's birthday. She typed it in. Wrong. He changed it. Her stomach dropped. People only changed phone passwords when they had something to hide. Simone set the phone down and stepped away from it like it was a snake. She didn't need to see the messages. The changed password told her everything. That day passed in a haze. She went through the motions, feeding, changing, soothing. Zara cried more than usual, sensing Simone's distraction. Or maybe she didn't sense anything. Maybe Simone was projecting her own falling apart onto her innocent daughter. Julian came home early that evening, unusual for him. "I'm taking a business trip next week," he announced, not looking at her. 3 days in Miami. "Okay," Simone said, bouncing Zara on her hip. "You'll be all right alone with the baby?" "Alone." As if she wasn't alone every day already. "We'll be fine." He nodded and disappeared into his office, closing the door. Through it, Simone heard his voice, low and warm in a way it never was with her anymore. She heard him laugh, that genuine laugh she used to elicit from him. She walked upstairs and set Zara in the crib, then locked herself in the bathroom. She ran the shower to cover the sound and cried silently into a towel, her body shaking with sobs she couldn't let out loud. When had she become this person? When had she started swallowing her pain to keep the peace? The final break came 2 days later. Simone was folding Julian's laundry, a task she'd taken on when she stopped working, trying to be the wife he needed, and found a receipt in his pants pocket. She almost threw it away unread, but something made her look. The boutique hotel. The same night she'd been in labor with Zara. Simone read the date 3 times, certain she was wrong. But there it was, the night she'd called Julian at 11 p.m., crying and telling him her contractions were 5 minutes apart. He'd said he was wrapping up a meeting, that he'd be there soon. He'd arrived at the hospital at 3 a.m., breathless and apologetic, claiming traffic and parking issues. But the receipt showed a hotel checkout time of 2:47 a.m. He'd been at that hotel. While she labored. While she breathed through contractions alone in a hospital room. While she pushed their daughter into the world with only nurses for support. He'd been at a hotel, and he'd checked out just in time to make it seem like he'd rushed from a meeting. Something inside Simone broke so completely that she felt it physically, a snap in her chest, a severing of whatever thread had been holding her to this marriage. She walked downstairs with the receipt, her hands steady. Julian sat at the kitchen table with his laptop, probably emailing Natasha or whoever she was. He looked up when Simone approached. "What's?" he started. She placed the receipt on the table in front of him. Julian looked at it. His face went pale, then red, then settled into something that looked like resignation. "Simone. Don't." Her voice was calm, eerily calm. "Don't explain. Don't make excuses. Just tell me yes or no. Were you with someone else the night I gave birth to our daughter?" Silence. The kitchen clock ticked. Zara made a small sound from the living room where she slept in her swing. "Yes," Julian finally said. "But it's not what you think. Get out." "Simone, let me explain." "Get out." She picked up his laptop and handed it to him. "Go to her. Go to whoever she is. I don't care. Just get out of my sight." Julian stood, looking like he wanted to argue, wanted to fix this with words the way he fixed business deals. But something in Simone's face must have stopped him. He took the laptop and walked toward the door. "I'll be at my mother's," he said quietly. "We can talk when you've calmed down." "I'm perfectly calm," Simone replied. "And there's nothing to talk about." He left. The house fell silent except for Zara's soft snoring and the sound of Simone's heart breaking into pieces too small to ever put back together. She didn't cry. She was done crying over him. Instead, she pulled out her laptop and opened a private browsing window. She searched for apartments in cities far from here. She searched for jobs in her old field, the financial analysis work she'd abandoned when Julian convinced her she didn't need to work, that he'd take care of everything. She'd believed him. She'd given up her career, her independence, her sense of self. For what? For a man who couldn't even show up for his daughter's birth because he was too busy betraying them. Never again. Simone spent the next week planning. She called her old boss, who'd always said she had an open door if Simone ever wanted to come back. She researched custody laws. She transferred money, only her half, nothing more, into a new account under her maiden name. She packed slowly, a box here, a suitcase there, hiding them in the attic where Julian never went. She shipped some items to a storage unit in another state. And when Julian finally came back 5 days later, acting like nothing had happened, like his cheating was just a bump in the road they'd get over, Simone played along. She smiled. She nodded. She made dinner and acted normal. Because she needed time. She needed him to think everything was fine while she arranged her escape. Julian never suspected. He was too busy with his phone, with his mistress, with his double life. He barely looked at Simone, barely interacted with Zara beyond the occasional photo for social media. The night before she left, Julian kissed her forehead and said, "I have a business dinner tomorrow night. Don't wait up." "I won't," Simone promised. And she meant it in ways he couldn't imagine. The next evening after Julian left, smelling like that expensive cologne, wearing the watch his mistress probably gave him, Simone moved with the efficiency of someone who'd been planning for weeks. She loaded the car with the boxes she'd hidden. She strapped Zara into her car seat. She walked through the house one final time, saying goodbye to the woman she'd been here, the woman who'd believed in fairy tales and forever. In the master bathroom, she removed her wedding ring and set it on the counter. Not thrown in anger. Not left dramatically. Just set down gently, a punctuation mark on a chapter that was over. Then Simone drove away from the house, away from Julian, away from the life that had been slowly killing her. She didn't look back. There was nothing behind her worth seeing. Only forward. Only toward whatever came next. Only toward the life she would build from the ashes of this one. The apartment was 600 square feet of beige walls and brown carpet that had seen better days sometime in the 1990s. Simone stood in the empty living room, Zara strapped to her chest in a baby carrier, and tried not to compare it to the 4-bedroom house she'd left behind. That house had been a prison with crown molding. This apartment was freedom in a 3rd-floor walk-up. "It's perfect," she said out loud and almost believed it. The landlord, a woman in her 60s named Donna, handed over the keys. "First month and security deposit clears you through to next month. If you need anything, I'm in apartment 1A. "Thank you," Simone said, shaking her hand. "I really appreciate you working with me on the paperwork." Donna shrugged. "You had references, you paid on time, you seem like good people. That's all I need to know. And for what it's worth," she added, lowering her voice, "I've been where you are. Took my kids and left with nothing but our clothes and my pride. Best decision I ever made." She squeezed Simone's shoulder and left, her footsteps echoing down the stairwell. Simone locked the door behind her, 2 deadbolts and a chain, she checked that before signing the lease, and surveyed her new kingdom. The kitchen was barely big enough for one person to stand in. The bedroom could fit a mattress and maybe a dresser if she arranged them carefully. The bathroom had pink tile that belonged in a museum of bad design choices. It was perfect. Zara squirmed against her chest, making hungry noises. Simone sat on the floor against the wall and pulled up her shirt to nurse. No furniture yet. Those deliveries wouldn't arrive until tomorrow. Tonight, they'd camp out with the sleeping bags and supplies she'd bought at the big box store on the way into town. As Zara nursed, Simone pulled out her phone. A new phone with a new number that Julian didn't have. She kept her old phone just long enough to transfer the photos of Zara, then destroyed the SIM card and threw the device in a dumpster 3 states back. She opened her banking app. The money she transferred sat there, a number that felt substantial and terrifying at the same time. She'd done the math. With careful budgeting, she had maybe 3 months before she needed steady income. Her old boss had been encouraging when she'd called, said they might have a position opening up in the next quarter, but might didn't pay rent. Tomorrow she'd start job hunting properly. Tonight she just needed to breathe. Zara fell asleep mid-feed, milk-drunk and peaceful. Simone held her daughter and looked around the empty apartment. No expensive furniture. No art that cost more than most people made in a month. No ghost of the life she thought she was building. Just bare walls and possibility. Her phone buzzed. For one heart-stopping moment, she thought Julian had somehow found her new number. But it was just a text from the furniture company confirming tomorrow's delivery window. Simone let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. She laid Zara in the portable crib she'd set up in the corner, the only piece of baby furniture she'd brought from the house. Everything else was new, purchased with her half of their savings, starting fresh with no memories attached. That night, Simone lay in her sleeping bag on the brown carpet and stared at the ceiling. The apartment above her was having a party, loud music, laughing, footsteps. In the house, she'd never heard the neighbors. Here she heard everything. Every car door slam, every conversation in the hallway, every sound of life happening around her. She wasn't alone. Even in this empty apartment, in this unfamiliar city, she wasn't alone. Zara started fussing around midnight. Simone changed her, fed her, walked circles around the tiny living room until her daughter settled. At 2 a.m. Zara woke again. At 4 a.m. At 5:30. By the time the sun came up, Simone felt like she'd been hit by a truck. Her body ached from sleeping on the floor. Her breasts hurt from nursing. Her head pounded from lack of sleep. But she'd made it through the night in her new life. Day 1 complete. The furniture arrived at 9 a.m. 2 guys hauled up a used couch, a kitchen table with 2 chairs, a dresser, and a bed frame, all purchased from the local online marketplace for a fraction of what they'd cost new. Simone tipped them what she could spare and assembled the bed frame while Zara had tummy time on a blanket. By afternoon, the apartment looked almost livable. Simone hung curtains, blackout ones for the bedroom so Zara might sleep better, and unpacked the kitchen boxes. As she put dishes in the cabinets, she realized she'd never picked out dishes before. In the house, everything had come from Julian's family or from their wedding registry. These plates were from the dollar store. The glasses didn't match. The silverware was basic and practical. And they were all hers. That evening, Simone heated up a frozen meal and ate it sitting on her second-hand couch while Zara dozed in the carrier against her chest. She pulled out her laptop and started browsing job listings. Financial analyst, junior accountant, bookkeeper, anything that matched her skills and would let her work remotely part of the time. She'd been out of the workforce for 2 years. Her resume had a gap that would raise questions. But she had her degree, her previous experience, and a reference from her old boss who'd promised to vouch for her skills. It had to be enough. Simone applied to 15 positions that night, carefully crafting each cover letter, explaining the employment gap as family obligations. It was vague enough to be acceptable, true enough not to be a lie. The next day she ventured out to explore the neighborhood. The apartment complex sat in a working-class part of town, not wealthy but not dangerous. There was a grocery store 3 blocks away, a park 2 blocks in the other direction, a library within walking distance. She could build a life here. Small but hers. At the park, Simone sat on a bench and watched other parents with their children. A group of mothers chatted nearby, their kids playing on the equipment. One of them, a black woman about Simone's age with twins in a stroller, caught her eye and smiled. "How old?" she asked, nodding toward Zara. "4 weeks," Simone said. "Oh, you're in the thick of it. Twins are 6 months now, and I'm just starting to feel human again." She laughed. "I'm Nicole." "Simone. You new to the neighborhood?" "Just moved in." Simone hesitated. "How much to share? What story to tell?" "Starting over, I guess." Nicole's expression softened with understanding. "Been there. If you need anything, and I mean anything even if it's just someone to hold the baby so you can shower, I'm in Building C, apartment 301. "Thank you," Simone said, and meant it more than Nicole could know. They talked for a few minutes about nothing important. Sleep schedules, baby clothes, the best pediatrician in the area. Normal things. Safe things. The kind of conversation that reminded Simone that life existed outside of heartbreak and betrayal. When she got back to her apartment, Simone felt lighter somehow. She had a friend, maybe. Or at least a friendly face. It was more than she'd had yesterday. That night, after Zara finally fell asleep around 11 p.m., Simone allowed herself to check the news from her old city. She searched for Julian's name, wondering if he'd reported her missing, if he'd made a scene, if he'd done anything dramatic. Nothing. No police reports, no Amber Alerts, no stories about a missing mother and child. Which meant Julian knew exactly why she'd left and was smart enough not to involve authorities who might ask uncomfortable questions about why a new mother would run. Or maybe he just didn't care enough to look that hard. Simone closed the laptop and crawled into bed, her bed that she'd bought with her money in her apartment in her new life. The sheets smelled like laundry detergent, not like Julian's cologne. The mattress was firm and basic, nothing like their pillow-top king size with the Egyptian cotton sheets. It was the best she'd slept in months. Over the next 2 weeks, Simone fell into a routine. Wake up with Zara at 5:30 a.m. Nurse change play. Put Zara down for first nap at 8. Apply to jobs while drinking too much coffee. Second nap at 11. Make lunch. Afternoon walk to the park. Evening feeding marathon. Collapse into bed around 10 p.m. She got 3 responses to her applications. 2 were form letters. "Thank you for your interest, but we've decided to pursue other candidates." The third was an invitation for a phone interview. Simone spent an hour preparing, reviewing her old work, practicing answers to common questions. The interview was scheduled for nap time because of course it was. She prayed Zara would sleep through it. The morning of the interview, Zara woke up fussy and stayed fussy. Simone tried everything: nursing, rocking, singing, walking. Nothing worked. By the time the phone rang, Zara was screaming. "Ms. Richards." The interviewer sounded professional, polished. "Yes, this is Simone. I apologize for the noise." "Is that a baby?" Simone's heart sank. "Yes, my daughter. She's usually quiet during this time, but—" "I see. Well, perhaps we should reschedule when you have childcare arranged. I can step outside." But the woman had already moved on, asking questions about Simone's employment gap, her previous position, her availability. Simone answered as best she could while jiggling Zara, stepping out onto her small balcony where the noise might be less obvious. She must have said the right things because the woman scheduled a second interview for the following week, this time in person. "And Ms. Richards? I'd suggest arranging childcare for our next meeting. We're looking for someone who can start immediately and work full-time in the office." "Of course," Simone said. "Thank you for the opportunity." She hung up and looked at Zara, who had finally quieted down. "Well, kid, we have a problem." Childcare meant money. Money meant dipping into reserves she needed for rent and food. But no childcare meant no job, and no job meant eventually no rent money anyway. Catch-22. That evening, Simone knocked on Nicole's door. "Hey girl," Nicole said, opening up with a twin on each hip. "Come in please. Save me from the chaos." Simone stepped into an apartment that looked like a toy store exploded. "I need advice. About childcare." "Say no more." Nicole set the twins down on a play mat. "There's a home daycare 2 streets over. Miss Deborah. She's expensive but good. Or there's the community center program. Cheaper, but you have to get on the waiting list early." "How early?" 6 months before you need it." Simone's face must have shown her panic because Nicole added, "But I know Deborah sometimes has emergency openings. Let me give her a call." 3 days later, Simone sat in Miss Deborah's living room, which had been transformed into a licensed daycare facility. 5 children played in different areas while a young assistant supervised. Miss Deborah herself was a grandmother in her 50s who'd been running the daycare for 20 years. "You looking for full-time?" she asked. "Possibly. I have a job interview next week. If I get the position, yes. Full-time." "She's 4 weeks old?" 5 weeks now." Miss Deborah looked at Zara, who was sleeping in her carrier. "I don't usually take them this young. Too much work. But I have a soft spot for single mothers starting over." She named a price that made Simone's stomach drop. "That includes formula if you need it, diapers, everything." "I'm nursing," Simone said quickly. "Breast milk was free." "Then we'll work with that. I have a fridge for expressed milk." Miss Deborah stood and walked Simone around the space, showing her the sleeping room, the play areas, the fenced backyard. "I run a tight ship. No sick kids, pick up by 5:30, payment on time every week. In return, I treat these babies like my own grandkids." "I'll take it," Simone said. She couldn't afford it. She'd have to make rice and beans stretch further, skip new clothes for herself, live even leaner. But she couldn't afford not to take it. They shook hands. Simone had childcare. Now she just needed to nail the interview and actually get the job. The second interview was at a mid-sized firm that did financial consulting for small businesses. Simone wore her one good suit, pumped in the parking lot before going in, and prayed she looked more confident than she felt. The hiring manager was a woman named Gabrielle, early 40s, with the kind of sharp presence that came from climbing corporate ladders in heels. She looked at Simone's resume, then at Simone. "2-year gap," she said. "Not a question." "I took time for family," Simone replied. "I have a young daughter." "And the father?" The question was probably illegal, but Simone answered anyway. "Not in the picture." Gabrielle nodded, not unkindly. "I'm going to be straight with you, Ms. Richards. You're overqualified for this position based on your previous work. You could be making twice what we're offering somewhere else. So why are you here?" Simone took a breath. "Honesty or close to it. Because I need a fresh start. I need steady income. I need a position that will let me prove myself again after being out of the field. And this job offers remote work twice a week, which means I can be there for my daughter when she's sick or needs me." "You planning to have more kids? Take more time off?" "No." Simone met her eyes. "I'm planning to work hard and rebuild my career." Gabrielle studied her for a long moment. Then she smiled. "Good. Because I need someone who's hungry, someone who's willing to put in the work. I don't care about the gap in your resume. I care about whether you can do the job." "Can you?" "Yes." "Then it's yours if you want it. Start Monday." Simone wanted to cry. She wanted to laugh. She wanted to hug this woman who'd just thrown her a lifeline. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Walking out of that office, Simone felt lighter than she had in months. She had a job. She had childcare. She had a chance. That weekend, she set up Zara's schedule with Miss Deborah, practiced pumping enough milk to leave bottles, and prepared herself mentally for the transition. Monday morning came too fast and too slow at the same time. Dropping Zara off that first day nearly broke her. Her daughter looked so small in Miss Deborah's arms, so vulnerable. Simone kissed her forehead and whispered, "Mama loves you. I'll be back soon." Then she drove to work with tears streaming down her face, wondering if she was making the right choice, if this was what being strong looked like, if she'd ever stop feeling like she was barely holding herself together. But she showed up. She sat at her new desk in her second-hand blazer and dove into the financial reports Gabrielle handed her. The work felt familiar, like muscle memory returning after a long absence. Numbers made sense. Balance sheets didn't lie or cheat or break promises. She was good at this. She'd forgotten how good she was at this. That first day stretched into evening. Simone picked up Zara at 5:25, 5 minutes before deadline, and held her daughter close. Zara smelled like Miss Deborah's house instead of like home, and Simone felt another pang of guilt. But Zara was fed, changed, happy. And Simone had made it through day one of her new life. "We can do this," she told Zara that night as she nursed her before bed. "We're going to be okay." For the first time since leaving, Simone almost believed it. Julian stood in the police station, his expensive lawyer beside him, and listened to the detective explain why they couldn't help him. "Your wife isn't missing, Mr. Ashford. She left of her own accord. She withdrew her portion of joint funds. She took her belongings and her child. Nothing about this suggests foul play. But she took my daughter." "Your daughter," the detective interrupted, "whom she gave birth to 6 weeks ago. As far as the law is concerned, she has every right to take that child anywhere she pleases unless you have a custody agreement stating otherwise. Do you?" Julian's lawyer touched his arm, a warning. "No," Julian admitted. "Then I suggest you work this out through the family court system. This is a domestic matter, not a criminal one." Julian wanted to argue, wanted to demand they file a missing persons report, wanted to force them to find Simone and bring her home. But his lawyer steered him out of the station before he could say something that would make things worse. "They're not going to help," his lawyer, Patricia, said once they were in the parking lot. "And frankly, you don't want them to." "What's that supposed to mean?" Patricia fixed him with a look that made Julian feel like a child being scolded. "It means that if they start investigating why your wife left, they're going to find things you probably don't want in a police report. Hotel receipts, credit card statements, phone records. Do you really want all of that documented?" Julian felt cold despite the warm day. "No, I didn't think so. Here's what we do. We file for custody through family court. We demonstrate that you're a fit father and that Simone has no right to keep your daughter from you. But Julian," she paused, "you need to understand something. Family court judges don't look kindly on infidelity, especially when there's a newborn involved. They're going to ask why she left. Are you prepared to answer that honestly?" "I made mistakes," Julian said weakly. "Mistakes that can be documented?" When he didn't answer, Patricia sighed. "That's what I thought. My advice? Think very carefully about whether you want to pursue this legally. Because once we open that door, Simone's lawyer, and she will get a lawyer, is going to walk through it with every piece of evidence that makes you look like an unfit father." "I'm not unfit. I love my daughter." "Do you?" Patricia's voice was sharp. "Because from where I stand, you spent your wife's labor at a hotel with another woman. You've been absent for your daughter's entire life. You haven't attended a single pediatrician appointment, haven't gotten up for a single night feeding, haven't changed a single diaper. Love is action, Julian. What actions can you point to that demonstrate you're a devoted father?" Julian opened his mouth and closed it again. He had nothing. "That's what I thought," Patricia said. "Go home. Think about what you really want here. If you want to pursue custody, call me. But be prepared for the fight of your life, one you might not win." She walked to her car, leaving Julian standing alone in the police station parking lot. Over the next week, Julian tore through every possible lead. He called hospitals in surrounding states, claiming he was looking for his sister and her baby. Nothing. He hired a private investigator, a man named Frank who looked like he'd walked out of a noir film, all rumpled suit and cynical eyes. "People who don't want to be found usually aren't," Frank said, taking Julian's deposit check. "But I'll see what I can do." Frank came back 3 days later with next to nothing. Your wife is smart. She used cash for everything after the initial withdrawal. No credit card trail. No social media activity. Her phone is disconnected. The mail forwarding expired after 2 weeks and it went to a P.O. box in a town 200 miles from here. Probably just a decoy. She's ghosted properly. There has to be something, Julian insisted. There is. The money. She took exactly half of your joint savings. That shows up on bank records. I can track when she made that withdrawal, which bank branch, what time. But after that. Frank shrugged. She could be anywhere. Keep looking. It's your money, Frank said, but his tone suggested it was a waste. Julian's mother came by the house, the empty house that echoed with absence. She walked through it silently, her face growing tighter with each room. You did this, she finally said. Mom? Don't mom me. I raised you better than this. Your father would be ashamed. Dad cheated on you, Julian shot back. As soon as the words left his mouth, he regretted them. His mother's hand moved so fast he barely saw it coming. The slap cracked across his face, leaving a burning imprint. Your father made mistakes, she said, her voice shaking. And he spent the rest of his life trying to make up for them. He went to therapy. He fought for us. He became a better man. But you? She looked at him with something worse than anger, disappointment. You're not even trying to be better. You just want her back so you can feel less guilty. That's not true. Isn't it? Tell me, Julian. When was the last time you changed Zara's diaper? When was the last time you got up with her at 3 a.m.? When was the last time you held your daughter and felt grateful for her existence instead of seeing her as an inconvenience? Julian couldn't answer because the answer was never. He'd barely touched Zara except for the occasional photo opportunity. That's what I thought. His mother picked up her purse. When you're ready to actually be a father instead of playing the victim, call me. Until then, don't waste my time. She left. Everyone kept leaving. Julian's business started suffering. He forgot meetings. He let emails pile up unanswered. His business partner, Trevor, finally cornered him after Julian missed a presentation to investors. What's going on with you? Trevor demanded. You've been useless for weeks. My wife left. She took my daughter. I know. The whole office knows. But that doesn't mean you get to tank the company we built together. Trevor's voice softened slightly. Look, I get it. You're going through something. But you need to get your head straight. Take a leave of absence if you need to. Go to therapy. Do whatever it takes. But you can't keep showing up like this. Are you firing me? I'm giving you a choice. Step back and deal with your personal life, or stay focused and do your job. You can't do both halfway. Julian took the leave of absence. He told himself it was temporary, just until he found Simone, just until he fixed everything. But deep down he knew he was running away from the wreckage of his life. He sat in the empty house and scrolled through old photos on his phone. Simone smiling on their wedding day. Simone laughing at some joke he couldn't remember. Simone pregnant, glowing, her hand on her belly. Simone in the hospital bed, holding newborn Zara, exhausted but beautiful. He'd been in that hospital room for maybe an hour before claiming he needed to check on work. He'd left her there, left them there, and gone back to his other life. How had he thought he could keep both? How had he convinced himself that Simone wouldn't find out, wouldn't care, would just accept his absence as the price of their lifestyle? His phone buzzed. Natasha. He'd ignored her calls for weeks now, but she was persistent. We need to talk, her text read. There's nothing to talk about, he replied. Actually, there is. I'm pregnant. Julian stared at the message, his blood turning to ice. No, this couldn't be happening. He called her. She answered on the first ring. Tell me you're lying, he said. I'm 8 weeks pregnant, Julian. It's yours. You said you were on birth control. Birth control fails. And frankly, after you ghosted me for weeks, I'm not inclined to do you any favors. I'm keeping the baby. You can be involved or not. Your choice. She hung up. Julian sat in his empty house, in his expensive furniture, in the ruins of his life, and felt the walls closing in. 2 children. 2 women who would rightfully hate him forever. A business he was losing. A family he destroyed. He called Frank, the investigator. I need you to find her. Whatever it costs, find her. Mr. Ashford, I told you. I don't care. Find her. Please. There was a long pause. I'll do what I can. But you should prepare yourself for the possibility that she doesn't want to be found. And if she doesn't, no amount of money is going to change that. Just try, Julian said, and heard the desperation in his own voice. He hung up and walked through the house again. In the nursery he saw the outline where the crib had been, the faint indentation in the carpet. He remembered standing here weeks ago before everything fell apart, looking at Zara sleeping and feeling nothing but inconvenience. What kind of father felt that way? His mother's words echoed, "You just want her back so you can feel less guilty." Maybe she was right. Maybe this whole search wasn't about love or fatherhood. Maybe it was just about Julian not wanting to face what he'd become. He pulled out Simone's wedding ring from his pocket, where he'd been carrying it like a talisman. The diamond still caught the light, still threw rainbows. Still represented a promise he'd broken 1,000 times over. Julian tried to imagine what Simone's life was like now. Was she in a tiny apartment somewhere? Was she struggling? Was Zara healthy and safe? Did they have enough money? Enough support? Or were they thriving without him? That last thought hurt worst of all. The idea that Simone and Zara might be better off with him gone, that his presence in their lives had been a weight rather than a blessing. His phone rang. His mother. "Julian, I need you to listen to me," she said without preamble. "I've been thinking about what I said. I was harsh. You were right. Maybe. But here's what I should have said. It's not too late to change. It's not too late to become the man your daughter needs you to be. But you have to actually do the work. Not the performative stuff. Real work. Real change. I don't know how. Start with therapy. Start with honestly looking at yourself and figuring out why you thought any of this was acceptable. Start with accepting that Simone may never come back, and that you need to find a way to be okay with that." "I can't accept that." His mother sighed. "Then you're going to spend the rest of your life chasing a ghost instead of building a future. Is that what you want?" Julian didn't answer because he didn't know anymore. What did he want? To turn back time? To undo his mistakes? Neither of those were possible. "Think about it," his mother said. "And Julian? That other woman, the one you were seeing. If she really is pregnant, those babies, both of them, deserve better than a father who's only half present. Figure out how to be fully present for someone before it's too late." She hung up. Julian sat in the dark, holding Simone's wedding ring, and finally let himself cry. Not for what he'd lost. For what he'd thrown away. 6 months after vanishing, Simone sat at her desk at 7 a.m., reviewing financial reports before the rest of the office arrived. She'd learned that coming in early gave her quiet time to focus, to get ahead, to prove herself indispensable. The numbers on her screen blurred together. She'd been up 3 times in the night with Zara, who was teething and miserable. Simone's coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but she was too deep in her analysis to get up for a refill. "You're here early again," Gabrielle's voice came from behind her. Simone jumped, nearly spilling her cold coffee. "I wanted to finish the Patterson account review before the client call." "It's Saturday," Gabrielle said. She wasn't judging, just observing. "Is it?" Simone honestly hadn't realized. The days blended together: work, daycare pickup, dinner, bedtime routine, maybe an hour for herself, sleep, repeat. Weekends just meant she could sleep slightly later before Zara woke up. Gabrielle pulled up a chair. "Let me tell you something I learned the hard way. You can't pour from an empty cup. I know you're working hard. I know you're trying to prove yourself. But you're going to burn out if you keep this pace." "I'm fine," Simone said automatically. "You're exhausted. I can see it. And you're doing excellent work. Don't get me wrong. The Patterson analysis was exactly what we needed. But excellence at the cost of your health isn't sustainable." Gabrielle paused. "Why are you really here on a Saturday?" Simone looked at her hands. The truth was complicated. "Because if I stop moving, I think about everything I left behind. If I stop working, I remember that my life fell apart 6 months ago and I'm just pretending I have it together." "Are you pretending?" Gabrielle asked gently. "Because from where I sit, you're actually doing it." "Not pretending. Doing. It doesn't feel that way. It never does when you're in it." Gabrielle stood. "Go home. Spend the day with your daughter. The work will be here Monday. But these moments with her when she's little? You can't get those back." Simone wanted to argue, wanted to finish the report, wanted to prove she was worth keeping around. But Gabrielle was right. When was the last time she just played with Zara without worrying about the next thing on her list? She packed up her laptop and drove home to her apartment. Miss Deborah was surprised when she showed up early to pick up Zara. "Everything okay?" Miss Deborah asked, handing over a very sleepy baby. "Everything's fine. Just taking the day." "Good. That baby needs her mama, and mama needs some rest too from the looks of you." Simone carried Zara up to their apartment and laid her in the crib for her morning nap. Then she did something radical. She didn't clean the kitchen, didn't do laundry, didn't work on anything. She sat on her second-hand couch and closed her eyes for just a minute. She woke up 2 hours later to Zara crying. Simone felt groggy but somehow more human than she had in weeks. She changed Zara, fed her, and decided to take a walk to the park instead of staying cooped up in the apartment. The park was full of families enjoying the unusually warm fall day. Simone found a spot under a tree and laid out a blanket. She set Zara on her tummy for some playtime and just watched her daughter explore the world, reaching for grass, startling at a bird, laughing at absolutely nothing. "Look at you taking a break," Nicole's voice came from behind her. She plopped down on the blanket with her twins. "I'm shocked. Gabrielle sent me home," Simone admitted. "Smart woman. You've been running on fumes." Nicole handed one of the twins a toy. "How are you really doing?" Simone considered lying, saying she was fine like she told everyone. But sitting there in the sunshine with her daughter gurgling happily beside her, the truth spilled out. "I'm tired. I'm scared I'm going to mess this up. I'm worried about money even though we're okay for now. I miss sleeping more than 3 hours at a stretch. And sometimes I wonder if I made the right choice, leaving like that." "Do you regret it?" "No. Never. But it's hard. Harder than I thought it would be." Nicole nodded. "Being a single mom is the hardest thing I've ever done. But you know what? We're doing it. Our kids are healthy and loved. We're building something real. That matters more than the hard parts." They sat in comfortable silence while the children played. Other parents stopped by to chat. Simone realized she'd built a community here without even noticing. Nicole and the other mothers from the park, Miss Deborah, the woman at the corner store who always asked about Zara, even her co-workers who'd started inviting her to after-work events she usually declined. She wasn't alone. She'd thought leaving Julian meant being alone, but she'd actually found people who showed up for her in ways Julian never had. That afternoon, after Zara went down for her second nap, Simone did something she'd been putting off. She called her mother. The phone rang 4 times. Simone almost hung up. "Hello?" Her mother's voice was cautious. "Hi, Mom. It's me." Silence. Then, "Simone? Baby, is that you?" "Yeah, it's me." "Oh, thank God. Where are you? Are you safe? Is the baby okay?" "We're fine. We're safe. I can't tell you where we are, not yet. But I wanted you to know we're okay." Her mother started crying. "I've been so worried. Julian called looking for you. I didn't tell him anything, but baby, what happened? Why did you run?" Simone gave her the abbreviated version. The affair. The hotel receipt from the night she was in labor. The complete absence of remorse or responsibility. Her mother listened without interrupting. "That boy," she finally said. "I never trusted him completely. Too smooth, you know? But you loved him, so I kept my mouth shut. I should have listened to you. No, you followed your heart. It's not your fault he broke it." Her mother paused. "Can I see you? See my grandbaby?" "Not yet. Maybe in a few months when I'm more settled. But I'll send pictures. I promise." They talked for an hour, catching up on everything Simone had missed. Her mother filled her in on family news, neighborhood gossip, all the normal life stuff that had continued while Simone's world imploded. It felt good to reconnect, to remember she came from somewhere, that she had roots even if she'd been transplanted. After hanging up, Simone felt lighter. She sent her mother photos of Zara, carefully scrubbed of any metadata that could reveal their location. Then she settled in to actually work on the Patterson account review, this time without the desperate edge of someone trying to outrun their past. Monday morning, Simone walked into the office and found Gabrielle waiting at her desk. "Good weekend?" Gabrielle asked. "Better than usual. Thank you for that." "Don't thank me yet. I have a proposition." Gabrielle handed her a folder. "We have a new client, a startup that needs a complete financial overhaul. I want you to lead the account." Simone opened the folder, scanning the details. "This is a big account. And you're ready for it. You've proven yourself over the last 6 months. You're smart, thorough, and you understand what these small business owners need. I want to give you the chance to show what you can do when you're not just supporting other people's projects." "I don't know what to say." "Say yes. And say you'll stop working weekends unless it's absolutely critical." Gabrielle smiled. "I need you fresh and focused, not burned out." "Yes," Simone said. "Thank you. I won't let you down." "I know you won't." The startup client turned out to be a tech company run by 3 women who'd left corporate jobs to build something of their own. Simone met with them that week and immediately connected. They understood what it meant to start over, to build from nothing, to prove yourself. Over the next month, Simone dove into their finances. She identified inefficiencies, restructured their payment schedules, and helped them project growth. The work was challenging and rewarding in a way her old job with Julian never had been. Julian. She realized she'd gone entire days without thinking about him. The wound he'd left was healing, slowly but surely. It would always scar, but scars were just proof you'd survived something. One evening, after putting Zara to bed, Simone sat at her small kitchen table with her laptop and did something she'd been considering for weeks. She opened enrollment for an online MBA program. The classes would be hard to manage with work and Zara, but Gabrielle's promotion had shown her something important. She could do more. She could be more. She filled out the application, wrote her essay about transformation and second chances, and hit submit before she could second-guess herself. 2 weeks later, the acceptance email arrived. She read it 3 times to make sure it was real. She was going back to school. She was building not just a life but a future. Simone called Nicole to celebrate. They took the kids to the park and got ice cream from the truck, splurging on the expensive flavors. Zara got more ice cream on her face than in her mouth, and Simone laughed harder than she had in months. "Look at you," Nicole said, watching Simone with Zara. "You're glowing." "I'm just happy," Simone realized. Actually happy, not pretending or trying to convince herself. "Things are good. Really good. You deserve it. So do you." They sat on the park bench, their babies sticky with ice cream, and watched the sunset. Simone thought about where she'd been 6 months ago, terrified, exhausted, wondering if she'd made a terrible mistake. And now she was here, building something real, something that was entirely hers. That night, after washing Zara's ice cream-covered hands and putting her to bed, Simone stood in her small apartment and looked around. The mismatched furniture, the budget-friendly decor, the walls she'd painted herself a soft blue that made the space feel bigger. It wasn't much, but it was home. A home built on her terms, with her rules, filled with love instead of lies. She pulled out her journal, something she'd started doing as therapy, writing down her thoughts and feelings instead of letting them spiral. She wrote about the promotion, about the MBA acceptance, about Zara hitting new milestones every day. She wrote about feeling like herself again, like the woman she was before Julian, only stronger. The last line she wrote, "I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm living." She closed the journal and got ready for bed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, it always did. Zara would probably wake up 3 times in the night. Work would pile up. The MBA classes would be demanding. Money would be tight. But Simone could handle it. She'd handled everything else life threw at her in the last 6 months. She'd left with nothing but her baby and her dignity, and she'd built a life that meant something. That was worth more than any mansion, any luxury car, any lifestyle Julian could have provided. As she drifted off to sleep, Simone smiled. She was building her own phoenix from the ashes of her old life. And it was going to be beautiful. Julian sat in his therapist's office, mandated by the family court judge who'd heard his custody petition. The therapist, Dr. Monroe, was a black man in his 50s who reminded Julian uncomfortably of his father. The same assessing gaze, the same disappointed silence that spoke louder than words. "So," Dr. Monroe said after Julian had spent 20 minutes explaining how Simone had wronged him by leaving, "You've told me what she did. Now tell me what you did." "I made mistakes." "Specifics, Julian. I can't help you if you won't be honest with yourself." Julian shifted in the leather chair. "I had an affair. For about 6 months before Simone gave birth." "You had an affair while your wife was pregnant?" "Yes." "Continue." "I was with my mistress the night Simone went into labor. I didn't get to the hospital until hours later." Dr. Monroe's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes hardened. "What happened when you got there?" "Simone had already given birth. She was in the recovery room with our daughter. I stayed for about an hour, then left to check on work." "You left your wife and newborn daughter alone in the hospital to go back to work?" "It was an important deal." "Was it more important than your family?" Julian couldn't answer because the truth was damning. Yes, at that moment the deal had felt more important. Or at least easier. Easier than facing Simone's exhaustion, Zara's crying, the reality of fatherhood. "How often did you help with the baby after you brought them home?" Dr. Monroe asked. "Simone handled most of it. She was better at that stuff." "Did you change diapers?" "A few times." "How many night feedings did you do?" "None." "Simone was nursing. Were you home for those feedings? Did you support her?" Julian looked at his hands. "No. I usually worked late or stayed at elsewhere." "With your mistress?" "Yes." Dr. Monroe leaned back in his chair. "I'm going to be very direct with you, Julian. You abandoned your family. Not just physically but emotionally. You checked out of your marriage and your responsibilities as a father. And now you're surprised that your wife left. I want to fix it. Do you? Or do you just want to not feel guilty anymore? The question hit like a punch to the gut because it was what his mother had said, what Patricia had implied, what everyone seemed to know except Julian himself. I don't know, he finally admitted. That's the first honest thing you've said since you sat down, Dr. Monroe said. Here's what I think. You're not here because you want to be a better father or husband. You're here because the court is making you come. You haven't done any of the internal work necessary to change. You're still the same man who cheated on his pregnant wife. That's not fair. Isn't it? What have you changed? What actions have you taken that demonstrate you're different from the man Simone left? Julian couldn't think of a single one. He'd stopped seeing Natasha, but only because she'd left him when she realized he was broke emotionally. He'd taken a leave from work, but only because he couldn't focus. He tried to find Simone, but only because he wanted to assuage his guilt. Our time is up, Dr. Monroe said, standing. I'll see you next week. Between now and then, I want you to think about this question. Why do you actually want Simone back? Not the surface reasons. The deep, honest reasons. Because until you can answer that, we're wasting each other's time. Julian left the session feeling worse than when he'd arrived. He drove back to the house, the empty house that echoed with absence, and sat in his car in the driveway for 20 minutes before going inside. His phone buzzed. Natasha. Again. We need to talk about the baby, her text read. Julian had been ignoring her texts about her pregnancy for weeks. The paternity test wouldn't happen until after the baby was born, another 3 months away. Part of him hoped she was lying, that the baby wasn't his, that this was just another problem that would go away if he ignored it long enough. But problems didn't go away. Simone had proven that. He called Natasha back. It's about time, she answered. I've been trying to reach you for weeks. What do you want? I want you to be involved. I want you to help with medical bills. I want you to start acting like a father instead of a ghost. How do I even know it's mine? We can do a paternity test after the baby is born. But you know it's yours, Julian. You were the only one I was sleeping with during that time. That probably wasn't true, but Julian didn't have the energy to argue. What do you need? They talked logistics, medical appointments, costs, plans for after the birth. It was all clinical, transactional, nothing like the excitement he should have felt about another child. He'd already missed that with Zara. Now he was going to miss it again. After hanging up, Julian walked through the house. Every room reminded him of what he'd lost. The master bedroom where Simone used to sleep, curled on her side with her hand under her. The kitchen where she'd make breakfast, humming while she cooked. The living room where she'd planned to nurse Zara while watching those shows she loved. All of it was gone. He'd sold most of the furniture, planning to downsize to a smaller place. The house was under contract to sell. Soon he'd move to a condo downtown, something modern and soulless that had no memories. His phone rang. Trevor, his business partner. We need to talk about your leave of absence, Trevor said. I'm not ready to come back yet. That's not what I'm calling about. Julian, we need to talk about buying you out. The words landed like a punch. What? You've been gone for months. The business is suffering because of it. I've been carrying your accounts, making excuses to clients, covering for you. I can't do it anymore. I built that company with you. And you're watching it fall apart because you can't get your personal life together. I'm sorry, Julian. I really am. But I need a partner who shows up, not someone who's chasing ghosts. Don't do this. It's already done. My lawyer will send over the paperwork. You'll get a fair price for your share. But I need you out. Trevor hung up. Julian stared at his phone, the screen going dark, reflecting his own face back at him. When had he become this person? This hollow shell who lost everything worth keeping? The weeks crawled by. Julian went to therapy every week, giving Dr. Monroe the bare minimum effort. He met with his lawyer to sign the business buyout papers. He moved to the condo, a sterile box in the sky with a view of the city he no longer recognized. He tried to reach out to old friends, people he'd neglected during his marriage. They were polite but distant, their lives having moved on without him. He tried to reconnect with his mother, but every conversation ended in disappointment. Have you done any of the work? She'd ask. I'm in therapy. That's not work. That's just showing up. Have you figured out why you cheated? Have you confronted what's broken inside you? He never had a good answer. One night, Julian found himself driving past the park near his old house. He saw a family there, father, mother, 2 kids. laughing as they played on the swings. The father pushed one kid while the mother helped the other climb the monkey bars. They looked happy. Complete. Julian used to imagine that would be him and Simone and Zara someday. Back when he still believed he could have everything. The perfect family, the successful business, the excitement of his affair. He'd thought he was smart enough to manage it all. He'd been a fool. His phone buzzed. Frank, the investigator. I found something, Frank said. Julian's heart raced. What? Where is she? I can't tell you that. But I did confirm she's alive and safe. She and the baby are doing fine. That's all you need to know. That's not enough. I need to see her. No, you need to let her go. Mr. Ashford, I've done this job for 20 years. I've seen a lot of people running from bad situations. Your wife isn't running anymore. She's building a life. A good one from what I can tell. You going after her would only destroy that. She's my wife. On paper maybe. But that woman you married? She doesn't exist anymore. She became someone else the day she left you. Someone stronger. Frank paused. Do the right thing. Let her be happy. The line went dead. Julian sat in his car outside the park and watched the happy family until the sun set and they went home. Then he drove back to his empty condo and sat in the dark. He'd lost everything. His wife, his daughter, his business, his friends, his family's respect. All of it gone because he'd been too selfish to appreciate what he had when he had it. Dr. Monroe's question echoed in his mind. Why do you actually want Simone back? The truth? He didn't want Simone back. He wanted to go back in time. He wanted to undo his mistakes. He wanted to be the man he should have been instead of the man he became. But time only moved forward. And the Julian who existed now was the sum of all his choices, all his failures, all his selfishness. He pulled up photos of Zara on his phone, the few he'd bothered to take when she was born. She was 7 months old now. He'd missed 7 months of her life. Her first smile. Her first laugh. Her learning to roll over, to sit up, all those milestones Simone was documenting somewhere without him. He'd made his choice when he stayed at that hotel while Simone labored. He'd made his choice every time he chose Natasha over his family. He'd made his choice by being absent, by checking out, by prioritizing everything except what mattered most. And now he was living with the consequences. Julian opened his laptop and pulled up the custody petition his lawyer had filed. He read through it, seeing his claims that Simone was unfit, that he deserved shared custody, that he was a devoted father. All lies. Comfortable lies he told himself to justify his pursuit, but lies nonetheless. He picked up his phone and called Patricia. I want to withdraw the custody petition, he said. Are you sure? We haven't even had the hearing yet. I'm sure. Simone can have full custody. I'll sign whatever papers she needs. Julian, you'll have no rights to your daughter. I have no rights now. I didn't earn them. I didn't show up. I didn't do any of the work. His voice cracked. Let them go. They're better off without me. Patricia was quiet for a long moment. I think that might be the first selfless thing you've done in this whole situation. She was right. It was. After hanging up, Julian closed his laptop and sat in the silence of his condo. Somewhere out there, Simone was building a life. She was raising their daughter. She was probably happy, or at least happier than she'd been with him. And he needed to let her be. Not because it's what he wanted, but because it's what they deserved. 2 years after vanishing, Simone stood in front of her bathroom mirror, adjusting the blazer she'd splurged on for today. Senior analyst. The promotion came with a raise substantial enough that she'd started looking at houses instead of apartments. You look pretty, Mama, Zara said from where she sat on the closed toilet, swinging her legs and playing with her toy dinosaur. Thank you, baby. Simone smiled at her daughter in the mirror. 2 years old and already opinionated about fashion. She'd inherited Simone's eyes and dimples, but her determination was all her own. Can I come to work with you? Not today. Miss Deborah is expecting you. Zara's face fell for approximately 3 seconds before she brightened again. Will Miss Deborah have the good snacks? If you're good for her, probably. I'm always good, Zara insisted, which was mostly true. She was a resilient, happy kid despite everything, or maybe because of everything. She'd never known life with Julian, never known the tension and lies. She just knew life with Simone, and Simone had worked hard to make that life stable and full of love. They drove to Miss Deborah's house, now a familiar routine. Zara ran inside without looking back, already chattering to the other kids. Miss Deborah caught Simone's eye and gave her a thumbs up. She's doing great, Miss Deborah mouthed. Simone drove to work, parking in the space that now had her name on it. The office had become familiar over 2 years. The people, the rhythms, the culture. She'd built relationships here, earned respect, proven herself valuable. Gabrielle met her in the hallway. Ready for the presentation? As ready as I'll ever be. They were pitching a major client, a company looking to expand into 3 new markets. Simone had spent 2 months analyzing their financials, creating projections and developing a strategy. This was her account, her baby, her chance to show what she could do. The presentation went well. Better than well. The client asked smart questions and Simone had smart answers. By the end of the hour, they were nodding, exchanging glances that said yes. We'll have a decision by end of week, the CEO said, shaking Simone's hand. But I'll be honest, this is the most thorough analysis we've seen. Your reputation is well earned. Reputation. Simone had a reputation now built on 2 years of showing up, doing excellent work and never making excuses. It felt good in a way that decorating a mansion never had. After the meeting, Gabrielle pulled her aside. You crushed it in there. We'll see if they sign. They'll sign. But regardless, we need to talk about your future here. How do you feel about the title of director? Simone's breath caught. Director? You've earned it. You're leading accounts now, mentoring junior analysts, bringing in business. That's not senior analyst work. That's director work. Obviously there'd be a pay increase and some additional responsibilities, but I think you're ready. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. Talk to your daughter. Make sure it's what you want. But Simone. Gabrielle smiled. You've built something remarkable here. From someone who came to us looking for a fresh start to someone we can't imagine losing. That's huge. After work, Simone picked up Zara and they went to the park. Nicole was there with her twins, now walking and getting into everything. How'd the big presentation go? Nicole asked. Good. Really good. Simone watched Zara play on the slide, fearless and laughing. They offered me a promotion. Director. That's amazing. Congratulations. I haven't accepted yet. Why not? Because 2 years ago I was hiding in a different city, terrified and broke. Now I'm getting promoted to director. It feels like whiplash. Nicole touched her arm. You earned this. Stop downplaying your accomplishments. You worked your butt off, took care of your daughter, went back to school at night and built a career from scratch. Own it. Simone looked at her friend, her best friend really. Nicole had been there for everything over the past 2 years. The late-night panic attacks when Simone worried she'd made a mistake. The celebrations when Simone landed the analyst job, then the promotion to senior analyst. The random weekday mornings when they'd grab coffee before work and talk about life. You're right, Simone said. I did earn it. Damn right you did. That evening, after Zara was in bed, Simone pulled out her laptop and looked at house listings. Not mansions. Just normal 3-bedroom houses with yards and good school districts. Places where Zara could have a dog, where Simone could have a garden, where they could build a home that was actually theirs. She found one she liked, a small ranch house with a big backyard in a neighborhood full of families. The mortgage would stretch her budget even with the director's salary, but it was possible. Actually possible. Simone sent her mother the listing. They'd been video chatting weekly for the past year, and Simone had even visited once, briefly, making sure Julian had no way to track her. Her mother was the only family member who knew where Simone lived now. Her phone rang immediately. Baby, this is perfect, her mother said. Look at that yard. Zara would love it. It's a little expensive. You can afford it with the new salary. Simone, you need to stop thinking like someone who's just surviving. You're thriving now. Act like it. First Nicole, now her mother. Everyone could see it except Simone herself. What if it falls apart? Simone asked quietly. What if I lose my job or the housing market crashes or? What if it doesn't? What if you buy that house and live there happily for the next 20 years? What if you stop waiting for the other shoe to drop and just enjoy what you've built? Simone looked around her apartment. She'd made it work for 2 years but they'd outgrown it. Zara needed space to play. Simone needed space to breathe. This apartment had been perfect for surviving. But maybe it was time to move toward thriving. I'm going to put in an offer, she decided. Good girl. Now tell me about this promotion. They talked for an hour about nothing and everything. Her mother filled her in on family drama, asked about Zara's latest adventures, shared recipes Simone pretended she'd actually cook. Normal mother-daughter stuff that Simone had missed during her year of radio silence. After hanging up, Simone opened her MBA coursework. She was halfway through the program now, juggling classes with work and motherhood. It was exhausting, but it was also empowering. Each paper she wrote, each concept she mastered, was proof that her brain hadn't turned to mush during her marriage. She was still smart, still capable, still more than just someone's wife. The next week moved in a blur. The client signed, giving Simone her biggest account to date. Gabrielle made the director promotion official. Simone's offer on the house was accepted, and she started the process of getting a mortgage, something she'd never done alone before. Julian had handled all of that in their marriage. Simone had signed where he told her to sign, trusted that he knew what he was doing. Now she read every document, asked questions until she understood every clause, and made decisions for herself. It felt powerful. Moving day came on a Saturday. Nicole showed up with her husband to help load the truck. Miss Deborah watched all the kids. Other friends from work stopped by with food and muscle. In 8 hours, Simone's life transferred from a 600-square-foot apartment to a house with actual rooms and a yard. That night, after everyone left, Simone stood in her empty living room with Zara on her hip. Their furniture looked small in the space, but they'd fill it eventually. The house felt huge and quiet and full of possibility. "This is our house, Zara," Simone said. "Our very own house. Big house." Zara agreed, wiggling to get down and explore. Simone let her run around, opening cabinets and peeking into rooms. This house was everything the mansion with Julian hadn't been. It was smaller, cheaper, and filled with infinitely more joy. Over the next few weeks, Simone settled into homeownership. She learned how to fix a leaky faucet via YouTube. She planted flowers in the backyard and let Zara help by digging in the dirt. She painted Zara's room a bright yellow that made the space feel happy. She made the house a home. Work was thriving too. As director, Simone had more autonomy, more responsibility, and more opportunity to shape the company's direction. She hired 2 junior analysts and discovered she loved mentoring, helping them navigate the same challenges she'd faced. One of them, a young woman named Tasha who'd recently left an abusive relationship, reminded Simone of herself 2 years ago. Scared but determined. Running but also running toward something better. "You're going to make it," Simone told her after Tasha confided about her situation. "It's going to be hard, and some days you'll wonder if you made the right choice. But you will make it." "How do you know?" "Because I did." Simone shared a little of her story, not all of it, just enough. 2 years ago I was where you are now. Look at me now. You can do this too." Tasha's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. I needed to hear that." Helping Tasha reminded Simone how far she'd come. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was building something meaningful, not just for herself but for others who needed to see that starting over was possible. That Christmas, Simone's mother came to visit. It was the first time she'd seen the house, the first time she'd spent more than a few hours with Zara since they'd left Julian. "Look at this," her mother said, walking through the house. "Look at what you built, baby. It's not much. It's everything. You took nothing and turned it into this. A home, a career, a beautiful daughter who's happy and healthy. That's not much. That's everything." They spent Christmas morning opening presents. Zara was delighted with her gifts, books, toys, clothes she'd outgrown in 3 months. Simone gave her mother a photo album she'd made, filled with pictures from the past 2 years. Her mother cried going through it, seeing all the moments she'd missed. "I'm so proud of you," she said. "Your father would be proud too." Simone's father had died when she was in college, before Julian, before any of this. Sometimes she wondered what he would have said about her marriage, about her leaving, about where she was now. She liked to think he'd approve of her strength, of her choice to build a life on her own terms. As the year ended, Simone sat in her backyard one evening after putting Zara to bed. The yard was dark except for the string lights she'd hung, giving the space a warm glow. She had a glass of wine, a luxury she rarely indulged in, and her journal. She wrote about the year, the promotion, the house, the MBA program she'd finish in 6 more months, the community she'd built, the person she'd become. 2 years ago she'd been broken, lost, running from the ruins of her marriage with nothing but her daughter and a desperate hope that things would get better. They had gotten better. Not because Julian changed or because she found someone to rescue her. They got better because Simone had done the work. She'd shown up every day, put one foot in front of the other, and built a life brick by brick. She'd become her own hero. The last thing she wrote in her journal, "I don't think about him anymore. Not really. Sometimes he crosses my mind like a ghost of who I used to be. But that woman is gone. I buried her and built myself anew. And this version of me? She's unstoppable." Simone closed the journal and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, Julian was living his life. She didn't know what that life looked like, didn't care to know. He was a chapter that ended so a better story could begin. This was her story now. Her house, her career, her daughter, her future. And it was beautiful. The conference center in Chicago was enormous, full of financial professionals networking and attending workshops. Simone had flown in that morning, her first business trip since starting at the firm 3 years ago. Gabrielle had insisted she attend. "You're a director now. Time to build your professional network beyond our office." Simone was scheduled to present financial forecasting strategies at 2 p.m. She'd spent weeks preparing, practiced her presentation until she could deliver it in her sleep. This was a big opportunity to establish herself in the larger financial community. She was standing in line at the coffee station when she felt eyes on her. That prickle of awareness that comes from being watched. She turned and saw him. Julian. He looked different. Thinner. Tired. His suit was still expensive but somehow didn't fit him right anymore, like he'd bought it for a different version of himself. He stood across the lobby, holding a conference program, staring at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Simone's first instinct was to run. Her second was to walk over and slap him. She did neither. She turned back to the coffee station, got her latte, and walked toward the presentation rooms with deliberate calm. Simone. Wait. His voice. She'd thought she'd forgotten what it sounded like, how it used to make her feel safe before it made her feel betrayed. She kept walking. Simone, please. I just want to talk. She stopped, not because she wanted to but because people were starting to stare. She turned to face him, her expression cool. I have a presentation to prepare for. I saw your name in the program. You're presenting on forecasting strategies. Yes. That's great. You always were good at analysis. Simone didn't respond. What was there to say? Thank you for noticing my skills 3 years too late? How are you? Julian asked. How is Zara? Hearing him say their daughter's name felt like a violation. We're fine. Can we talk? Maybe grab coffee after your presentation? No. Simone, please. I just want 5 minutes. You had years, Julian. Years to be present, to be a father, to be a husband. You didn't want those minutes then. You don't get them now. She turned to leave. I'm sorry. His voice cracked. I know it doesn't mean anything, but I'm sorry. For all of it. For everything I did and everything I didn't do. You deserved better. Simone looked at him, really looked at him. She'd spent so many nights imagining what she'd say if she ever saw him again. She'd practiced speeches, crafted the perfect cutting remarks, planned how she'd make him feel a fraction of the pain he'd caused her. But standing here now, looking at this man who'd once been her world, she felt nothing. Not anger, not hurt, not even satisfaction. Just nothing. You're right, she said quietly. I did deserve better. So I build better for myself. Have a good life, Julian. She walked away and this time he didn't follow. Simone made it to an empty conference room before her hands started shaking. She sat in a chair and took deep breaths, centering herself. She hadn't thought about Julian in months. Seeing him had brought back memories she'd carefully filed away, the betrayal, the hurt, the fear of those first months alone. But they were just memories now. They didn't have power over her anymore. Her phone buzzed. A text from Nicole. Knock him dead at your presentation. We're all rooting for you. Simone smiled. Nicole didn't know about the Julian encounter, didn't know Simone's carefully constructed calm was barely holding. But the text reminded her of what mattered. The people who showed up for her, the life she'd built, the future she was creating. Julian was the past. This presentation was the future. Simone stood, smoothed her blazer and went to set up her slides. The presentation room filled quickly. Simone stood at the front, connected her laptop to the projector and organized her notes. She saw Julian slip into the back row just before the session started. Part of her wanted to ask him to leave. But a bigger part of her wanted to show him exactly who she'd become in his absence. Good afternoon, Simone began, her voice steady and confident. I'm Simone Richards, Director of Financial Analysis at Harris Consulting. Today I want to talk to you about dynamic forecasting strategies for small to mid-sized businesses in unstable markets. For the next 45 minutes, Simone commanded the room. She presented complex financial concepts with clarity, used real-world examples from her client work, and fielded questions with expertise that came from years of experience. She was good at this. She'd forgotten how good she was. When she finished, the applause was genuine. Several people came up afterward to ask questions, exchange business cards, and discuss potential collaborations. Simone found herself in conversations with senior directors from major firms, people who respected her work and saw her as an equal. Julian waited until everyone else had left. Simone was packing up her laptop when he approached. That was impressive, he said. Thank you. I mean it, Simone. You were always smart, but seeing you up there, you were in your element. She looked up at him. Did you need something specific, Julian? Or are you just here to offer belated compliments? He flinched at her tone. I wanted to ask about Zara. How is she really? What does she look like? What's she like? She's 3 years old. She's healthy, happy, and thriving. She loves dinosaurs and books and making up songs. She's everything you missed because you weren't there. I think about her every day. Thinking about her isn't the same as being there for her. Thinking about her doesn't change diapers or handle tantrums or stay up all night when she's sick. You made your choice 3 years ago, Julian. Multiple choices, actually. This is what those choices look like. I signed away my parental rights, Julian said quietly. Last year. I figured you'd want full custody without having to fight me for it. Simone had received those papers, had cried with relief when her lawyer confirmed Julian was truly letting them go. But hearing him say it now, she felt an unexpected twinge of something. Not sadness exactly. Maybe disappointment that Zara would never know her father, that Julian had chosen the easy way out again. That was the right choice, Simone said. Thank you for that at least. Can I see her? Just once? I know I don't have rights, but... No. Simone. No, Julian. You can't blow back into our lives for a few minutes and expect to suddenly be part of them. Zara doesn't know you. She doesn't ask about you. She has a stable, happy life. I'm not going to disrupt that because you suddenly feel guilty. I'm not suddenly feeling guilty. I felt guilty for 3 years. Then you should have done something about it 3 years ago. Or 2 years ago. Or 1 year ago. You didn't. You signed away your rights instead of doing the hard work of becoming a father. That was your choice. Live with it. She picked up her laptop bag and walked past him. This time she didn't look back. That evening, Simone sat in her hotel room and called home. Nicole was watching Zara for the overnight trip. How's my baby? Simone asked when Nicole answered. Currently covered in spaghetti sauce and loving life. How'd the presentation go? Good. Really good. Simone paused. I ran into Julian. What? Where? At the conference. He was here for some session. We talked. Briefly. Are you okay? Yeah, actually, I am. It was weird seeing him, but it didn't hurt like I thought it would. He's not part of my life anymore. Not really. He's just some guy I used to know. Good. That's good, right? Yeah, it is. Simone heard Zara laughing in the background. Can I talk to her? She's mid-spaghetti disaster, but I'll put you on speaker. Hi, Mama. Zara's voice came through bright and happy. Hi, baby. Are you being good for Miss Nicole? I'm being super good. We had paschetti and it's everywhere. I can imagine. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? I love you so much. Love you too, Mama. Bye. The call ended, and Simone sat in the hotel room, looking out at the Chicago skyline. 3 years ago she'd been running. Scared and alone and unsure if she'd made the right choice. Now she was here in a nice hotel paid for by her job, after giving a presentation to respected professionals, with a daughter who was safe and loved back home. She'd made the right choice. Seeing Julian only confirmed it. Her phone buzzed with a LinkedIn connection request. From Julian. She stared at it for a long moment, then declined it and blocked him. She didn't need that connection. She didn't need any reminder of who she used to be or what she'd left behind. The next morning, Simone attended more conference sessions, networked with other professionals and collected business cards from potential clients. She was good at this, the networking, the professional conversations, the art of building a reputation. It came naturally now in a way it never had when she was Julian's wife, always in his shadow. On the flight home, Simone opened her laptop and started drafting follow-up emails to the people she'd met. New opportunities, new clients, new possibilities. The presentation had been a success in more ways than one. As the plane descended toward home, Simone looked out the window at her city, her adopted home where she'd rebuilt her life. Somewhere down there, Zara was probably refusing to nap for Nicole. Somewhere down there, her house waited with its bright yellow bedroom and backyard garden. Somewhere down there was the life she'd built brick by brick from nothing. Julian wasn't part of that life. He'd had his chance and blown it. Whatever guilt or regret he carried now was his problem, not hers. Simone had moved on. And it felt amazing. 6 months after the Chicago conference, Simone's lawyer called. Julian's filed for visitation rights, Rebecca said without preamble. Simone's blood ran cold. What? He signed away his rights. He can't. Apparently he can. Or at least he's trying to. He's claiming he was coerced into signing under emotional duress, that he's now stable and ready to be a father, and that Zara deserves to know him. This is ridiculous. He's been absent for nearly 4 years. Zara doesn't even know who he is. I know. And we're going to fight this hard. But I need to prepare you. Judges sometimes side with fathers who claim they want to be involved, especially if they can demonstrate they've changed. He hasn't changed. He's just lonely or guilty or whatever. He doesn't actually want to be a father. He wants to feel better about himself. Then we'll prove that in court. But Simone, you need to prepare yourself for the possibility that he might get supervised visitation. At minimum. Simone hung up and sat in her office staring at the wall. 4 years. 4 years of building a life, of protecting Zara from the chaos of Julian's world, of creating stability. And now he wanted to waltz back in? No, absolutely not. That evening she called her mother. He's doing what? Her mother practically shouted. After all this time? His lawyer filed papers last week. Rebecca says we have a court date in 2 months. Baby, you need to fight this with everything you have. That man doesn't deserve to know Zara. He had his chance. I'm going to fight. But Rebecca says the courts sometimes favor fathers who claim they want to be involved. Then we show them who Julian really is. We document everything. Every lie, every betrayal, every moment he chose his mistress over his family. We show them he's not stable, he's selfish. Simone took a breath. Her mother was right. This wasn't about emotion. This was about protection. Protecting Zara from a father who'd already proven he couldn't be trusted. Over the next 2 months, Simone worked with Rebecca to build their case. They gathered evidence. The hotel receipts from the night Simone was in labor, phone records showing Julian's contact with his mistress throughout Simone's pregnancy, bank statements demonstrating his financial neglect, testimony from Simone's friends and family about Julian's absence. Rebecca also subpoenaed Julian's therapist notes. Dr. Monroe had documented Julian's admission that he wasn't sure why he wanted custody, that he hadn't done the internal work to change, that his motivation seemed more about assuaging guilt than genuine paternal interest. This is good, Rebecca said, reviewing the file. This paints a picture of someone who's unreliable and self-focused. But you need to prepare yourself. Julian's lawyer is going to paint you as vindictive, as someone keeping a child from her father out of spite. I'm protecting my daughter. I know that. But they'll twist it. They'll say you moved away to hide her, that you've refused all his attempts at contact, that you're denying Zara the right to know her father. You need to stay calm in there no matter what they say. The court date arrived. Simone wore a conservative navy suit and minimal makeup. She'd left Zara with her mother, who'd flown in for moral support. Walking into the courthouse felt like walking into a nightmare. Julian sat at the plaintiff's table with his lawyer, a slick-looking man in an expensive suit. Julian looked better than he had in Chicago, healthier, more put together. Like he'd been preparing for this moment. The hearing began. Julian's lawyer went first, painting a picture of a man who'd made mistakes but was now ready to be a father. He presented evidence of Julian's therapy, his stable employment at a new firm, his completion of parenting classes. Mr. Ashford has done everything the court could ask of him, the lawyer argued. He's addressed his past mistakes, he's prepared himself to be a parent, and he's simply asking for supervised visitation with his daughter. Every child deserves to know both parents. Then it was Rebecca's turn. She methodically presented their evidence. The affair during pregnancy, the absence during labor, the complete lack of involvement in Zara's first years, the signed relinquishment of parental rights. Mr. Ashford claims he was coerced into signing those papers, Rebecca said, holding up the document. But the record shows he voluntarily signed, with legal counsel present, after months of consideration. He made a choice then. And now, 4 years later, he wants to undo that choice not because he's ready to be a father, but because he saw Ms. Richards thriving without him. Rebecca called Dr. Monroe to testify. The therapist was careful with confidentiality but confirmed Julian had struggled with understanding his own motivations and hadn't demonstrated consistent commitment to change. Would you characterize Mr. Ashford as someone who's done the deep personal work necessary to be a reliable parent? Rebecca asked. I can't speak to his current state, Dr. Monroe said carefully. But during our sessions he showed more interest in avoiding guilt than in actual parenting. Whether that's changed, I can't say. Then Simone was called to testify. She took the stand, placed her hand on the Bible, and swore to tell the truth. Julian's lawyer questioned her first. Ms. Richards, isn't it true that you fled in the middle of the night, taking Mr. Ashford's daughter without giving him any opportunity to be a father? I left an unsafe situation, Simone replied calmly. I took our daughter to protect her from an unstable environment. Unstable? Mr. Ashford provided a home, financial support. Mr. Ashford was having an affair while I was pregnant. He was absent during our daughter's birth. He showed no interest in caring for her during her first weeks of life. That's unstable. You could have sought counseling, tried to work things out. For what? So our daughter could grow up watching her father betray her mother? So she could learn that's what love looks like. Ms. Richards, the judge interrupted. Please just answer the questions. I apologize, Your Honor. Julian's lawyer continued. You moved away, changed your name, made it impossible for Mr. Ashford to find you. Doesn't that seem extreme? I did what I needed to do to protect myself and my child. Or to punish Mr. Ashford? No. To survive. There's a difference. Rebecca's cross-examination was gentler. She asked Simone to describe Zara's routine, her temperament, her needs. Simone talked about bedtimes and favorite books and how Zara got scared during thunderstorms. She painted a picture of a child who was loved and stable and had never known the man claiming to be her father. Does Zara ask about her father? Rebecca asked. No. She doesn't know him. To her, it's always just been the two of us. And our extended family and friends. How do you think introducing Julian into her life would affect her? I think it would confuse and upset her. She doesn't understand why a stranger would suddenly claim to be her father. And if he's inconsistent, if he starts visitation and then disappears again when it gets hard, that would traumatize her. I won't subject my daughter to that. The judge asked his own questions. Ms. Richards, do you believe children benefit from knowing both parents? In general, yes. But not when one parent has proven themselves unreliable. My daughter's stability and emotional well-being come first. And if the court orders supervised visitation, would you comply? Simone wanted to say no. She wanted to refuse, to grab Zara and run again. But she couldn't. I would comply with any court order, Your Honor. But I would ask the court to consider what's truly in Zara's best interest, not what makes the adults feel better. The hearing ended. The judge said he'd issue a ruling within 2 weeks. Simone left the courthouse feeling drained. Her mother was waiting outside. How did it go? She asked. I don't know. I told the truth. I hope that's enough. They went back to Simone's house, where Zara was playing in the backyard, blissfully unaware of the legal battle being waged over her future. Simone watched her daughter through the kitchen window, her heart aching. What if he wins? Simone asked her mother. What if the judge orders visitation? Then we deal with it. But we don't give up. We keep fighting for her. I can't let him hurt her. You won't. You've protected her this far. You'll protect her through whatever comes next. The 2 weeks of waiting were torture. Simone threw herself into work, trying to distract herself. But every time her phone rang, her heart jumped, thinking it was Rebecca with news. Finally, the call came. The judge denied Julian's petition, Rebecca said. Simone's legs gave out. She sat down hard on her office chair. What? The judge ruled that Julian voluntarily relinquished his parental rights, that he hasn't demonstrated consistent commitment to parenting, and that disrupting Zara's stable life wouldn't serve her best interests. He denied the petition without prejudice, meaning Julian could file again in the future if circumstances change, but for now you won. We won. You won. Simone started crying, relief flooding through her. Thank you. Thank you so much. You did this, Simone. Your testimony, your evidence, the life you built for Zara, that's what convinced the judge. You protected your daughter. Be proud of that. After hanging up, Simone sat in her office and let herself feel it. The relief, the gratitude, the bone-deep exhaustion of fighting for her child. She'd won. Zara was safe. She drove straight to her mother's house to pick up Zara early. When Zara ran into her arms, chattering about the cookies Grandma had let her help bake, Simone held her tight. I love you so much, Simone whispered. Love you too, Mama. You're squishing me. Simone laughed and loosened her grip. Sorry, baby. Let's go home. That night, after putting Zara to bed, Simone opened her laptop and found a message from Rebecca. Attached was a document, the court's written ruling. Simone read through it, seeing the judge's reasoning laid out in legal language. One paragraph stood out. While this court acknowledges that children generally benefit from relationships with both parents, the evidence demonstrates Mr. Ashford has shown no consistent commitment to parenthood. His 4-year absence, his voluntary relinquishment of rights, and his admitted uncertainty about his motivations suggest his petition stems from guilt rather than genuine parental concern. The child's stability and emotional well-being must take precedence over an adult's desire to assuage guilt. The judge had seen through Julian's performance. He'd seen what Simone had known all along, that Julian wasn't ready to be a father, might never be ready, and Zara deserved better than his half-hearted attempts. Simone saved the document and closed her laptop. It was over. Really over. No more looking over her shoulder, no more worrying Julian would show up and demand access to Zara, no more legal battles. They were free. A few days later, Simone received a letter. No return address, but she recognized the handwriting. Julian's. She almost threw it away unread. But curiosity won. She opened it. Simone, it began. I'm not going to appeal the judge's decision. You were right. Zara doesn't know me, and forcing myself into her life would only hurt her. I can't even say I'm surprised. I haven't earned the right to be her father. You asked me once why I really wanted custody. The truth is I don't know. Maybe guilt. Maybe loneliness. Maybe just wanting to prove I'm not as terrible as I feel. But none of those are good reasons. Zara deserves a father who wants her for her, not for what she can do for his self-image. I'm sorry for everything. Not just the affair, not just the absence, but for wasting your time and energy on this court battle. You built something beautiful for Zara. I hope someday she understands how lucky she is to have you as her mother. I hope someday I'll be someone worthy of knowing her. But I'm not that person yet, and forcing it won't make it true. Take care of our daughter. I won't bother you again. Julian. Simone read the letter twice, then filed it away. Not in the trash, but in a folder with other important documents. Someday when Zara was older and asked about her father, this letter might matter. It might show her that Julian had, at the very end, finally put her needs first. Or maybe it wouldn't matter at all. Maybe Zara would grow up so secure in the love she received that Julian's absence would just be a footnote in her story, not a defining tragedy. Simone hoped for the latter. She hoped Zara would never feel the absence of a father who'd never been there to begin with. She hoped the love Simone gave, the stability, the consistency, the unwavering presence, would be enough. She believed it would be. Because love wasn't just a feeling. It was action. It was showing up. It was choosing your child every single day, even when it was hard, even when you were tired, even when you wanted to give up. Julian had never learned that. Maybe he would someday. But by then it would be too late. Simone closed the folder and went to check on Zara, who was sleeping peacefully in her dinosaur pajamas, her favorite stuffed stegosaurus clutched in her arms. She looked so small and so perfect and so completely unaware of the battle that had just been fought for her. That was how it should be. Children shouldn't have to know about court dates and custody battles and fathers who didn't show up. They should just get to be kids, safe and loved and free to grow. Simone had given Zara that gift. And she'd keep giving it every day for the rest of her life. 5 years after vanishing into the night with her newborn daughter, Simone stood in her backyard and surveyed her kingdom. The garden she'd spent 3 years building bloomed with vegetables and flowers. The small patio she'd installed last summer held a table where she and Zara ate dinner on warm evenings. The swing set in the corner, purchased second-hand and refurbished, showed where from constant use. Her house. Her garden. Her life. Mama. Look what I made. Zara ran over, holding up a drawing of what appeared to be a dinosaur eating a rainbow. That's beautiful, baby. Is that a T-Rex? It's a Spinosaurus. They're the biggest, and they eat rainbows in my imagination. Of course they do. Simone smiled and ruffled her daughter's hair. 8 years old now, full of opinions and creativity and boundless energy. She looked nothing like Julian except for the shape of her eyes. Everything else, her expressions, her laugh, her fierce determination, was pure Simone. Zara ran back to her art supplies spread across the patio table. Simone watched her for a moment, feeling that bone-deep gratitude that came from knowing your child was truly happy. Not performing happiness. Not pretending. Just genuinely, completely content with her life. Need any help with dinner? Nicole's voice came from the side gate. She let herself in, twins in tow. The boys were 7 now, a whirlwind of energy and chaos. I'm marinating chicken for the grill. You bring the salad? In the car. Let me grab it. Nicole paused. You okay? You've got that face. What face? That, I'm reflecting on my life face. What's going on? Simone laughed. Nothing bad. Just, it's been 5 years since I left Julian. 5 years yesterday, actually. And look at where you are now. I know. It's just surreal sometimes. I think about that woman I was, scared, broke, hiding in a tiny apartment. And then I look at this. She gestured at her house, her garden, Zara laughing with the twins. It doesn't feel real. It's real because you built it. Own that. Nicole squeezed her shoulder. I'm going to grab that salad. And wine. We're celebrating 5 years of you being a total badass. That evening after Nicole and the twins left, Simone tucked Zara into bed. They'd established a routine over the years. Teeth brushed, pajamas on, 3 books read in the dinosaur-themed bedroom Zara had helped paint. Mama? Zara asked as Simone was turning out the light. Yeah, baby? Emma at school says everybody has a daddy. Do I have a daddy? The question Simone had been waiting for, dreading for years. She sat back down on the bed. You do have a biological father. But he's not part of our lives. Why not? Because sometimes adults make choices that mean they can't be good parents. Your biological father wasn't ready to be a dad when you were born. So it's just been you and me. Does he know about me? He does. But he agreed that you'd be happier with just me taking care of you. Zara thought about this for a moment. I'm happy. I don't need a daddy if you're my mama. You're stuck with me, kid? Good. Zara yawned. Love you, mama. Love you too, baby girl. Simone closed the door and leaned against it for a moment. The conversation had gone better than she'd feared. Zara was secure enough in their life that Julian's absence wasn't a wound, just a fact. Maybe that would change as she got older. Maybe she'd have questions, feel that absence more keenly. But for now she was okay. They were okay. The next morning, Simone drove to work at the new office building their company had moved into last year. She had a corner office now with a window and a door and her name on the wall. Simone Richards, CFO. Chief Financial Officer. She'd been promoted 6 months ago, the culmination of 5 years of proving herself indispensable. Morning, boss, Tasha called from her desk. She'd grown from the scared junior analyst into Simone's right hand, confident and capable. Morning. How'd the Henderson pitch go yesterday? They signed. Contracts in your inbox. Excellent work. Simone poured herself coffee from the break room and settled into her office. Her calendar was packed. 3 client meetings, a budget review, interviews for a new analyst position. The kind of busy that used to stress her out but now just felt productive. At lunch, she met with Gabrielle, who'd become not just a boss but a friend and mentor. I have news, Gabrielle said over salads. I'm retiring. Simone nearly choked on her water. What? When? End of the year. I've been thinking about it for a while. I'm 62, I've built this company into something I'm proud of, and I'm ready to travel and enjoy my life. She smiled at Simone's shocked expression. Don't panic. The company's in good hands. You're more than ready to run it. Me? Gabrielle, I'm CFO, not CO. And you've been functionally running operations for the last year. The board knows it. I know it. You're my successor, Simone. If you want it. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. It's a big decision, especially with Zara. But I wouldn't offer if I didn't believe you could do it. Simone spent the rest of lunch in a daze. CEO. Of a company that employed 50 people and worked with hundreds of clients. The scared woman who'd fled in the middle of the night 5 years ago couldn't have imagined this. That woman had been focused on survival, on just making it through each day. But Simone wasn't that woman anymore. She'd grown, evolved, become someone who could handle responsibility and pressure and leadership. Maybe she could do this. That evening she talked it over with Zara while making dinner. So Mama might become the boss of her whole company, Simone said, trying to gauge how Zara felt about it. You're already the boss, Zara said matter-of-factly, adding cheese to the tacos. I'm a boss. This would make me the boss. Cool. Can I have extra cheese? Simone laughed. Kids had a way of cutting through complexity. To Zara, it didn't matter if Simone was CFO or CEO or janitor. She was still Mama, still the person who made dinner and checked homework and tucked her in at night. Later that week, Simone met her mother for coffee. Her mom had moved closer 2 years ago, wanting to be more involved in Zara's life, and they saw each other weekly now. CO baby, her mother beamed. Your father would be so proud. I haven't accepted yet. But you're going to. Maybe. It's a lot of responsibility. And more hours. You've been managing those hours fine as CFO. And you'll have the flexibility to set your own schedule. Think about what this means. You'll be leading the company, shaping its future, being a role model for other women. Her mother squeezed her hand. You've come so far from that scared girl who called me 5 years ago. Don't be afraid to claim your success. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You're just finally listening. Simone accepted the CEO position the following week. The announcement went out internally, and her team celebrated with cake and champagne in the conference room. Tasha hugged her, Nicole sent a congratulatory text with about 50 emojis, and Gabrielle looked at her with the kind of pride that made Simone tear up. "You earned this," Gabrielle said privately. "Every bit of it." The transition happened over the next few months. Simone learned the CEO role, took on new responsibilities, and found herself energized rather than overwhelmed. She'd spent 5 years building skills, confidence, and a reputation. She was ready for this. One Saturday afternoon, Simone was working in her garden while Zara played nearby. A car pulled up, a nice car but not ostentatious. A man got out, early 40s, wearing jeans and a button-down shirt. He approached the gate hesitantly. "Excuse me, are you Simone Richards?" Simone stood, immediately wary. "Who's asking?" "My name is Cameron. I'm a financial consultant and someone recommended I reach out to you about a project. I hope it's okay that I stopped by, your office gave me your address." "That's highly inappropriate of them. I know, I'm sorry. But I was in the neighborhood and I thought." He trailed off, seeming to realize how creepy this sounded. "I'm making this worse. I'll email you instead. Sorry to bother you at home." He turned to leave but Zara called out, "Your car is so cool. Is that electric?" Cameron turned back, smiling. "It is. Want to see?" He showed Zara the car, explaining how electric engines worked in terms an 8-year-old could understand. Simone watched, still wary but slightly charmed by how patient he was with her daughter's endless questions. "You're good with kids," Simone observed. "I have a nephew. He's convinced I know everything about cars. I've learned to fake it convincingly." They talked for a few more minutes, safe, surface-level conversation about work in the neighborhood. Cameron was easy to talk to, not pushy or overwhelming. He gave Simone his business card and said, "I really do need financial consulting on a project. If you're interested, email me. If not, no hard feelings. And I promise not to show up at your house again." After he left, Zara said, "He was nice." "He was," Simone agreed, surprising herself. That night she looked up Cameron online. He was legitimate, a consultant who worked with nonprofits on community development projects. His LinkedIn was professional, his background checked out. She emailed him about the project, keeping it professional and businesslike. They met for coffee the following week to discuss his needs. Then met again. And again. Somewhere along the way, the meetings stopped being about business and started being about each other. Cameron was patient, understanding when Simone explained she had a daughter and that Zara came first, always. He didn't push for more than Simone was ready to give. He asked about her work, her goals, her life, and actually listened to the answers. 3 months later, Cameron met Zara officially over dinner at Simone's house. Simone had been nervous, but Cameron and Zara hit it off immediately, talking about dinosaurs and electric cars and space exploration. He didn't try too hard, didn't pretend to be something he wasn't. He was just himself, and that was enough. After Zara went to bed, Cameron and Simone sat on the patio. "She's amazing," he said. "You've done an incredible job raising her." "Thank you. She's my whole world." "I know. And I respect that. I'm not trying to rush anything here. I really like spending time with both of you. If that's okay." "It's okay," Simone said and realized she meant it. For the first time since Julian, she was opening her heart to someone new. It terrified her. But it also felt right in a way that nothing with Julian ever had. Cameron wasn't trying to sweep her off her feet or promise her the world. He was just showing up, consistently, being present in the small moments that actually mattered. A year later, Simone stood in her backyard again, but this time for a different reason. She'd organized a garden party to celebrate the company's 10th anniversary. Her entire team was there, plus friends and family. Cameron was grilling with Nicole's husband. Zara was playing with the twins and several other kids. Simone's mother was holding court with the older guests, telling embarrassing stories about Simone's childhood. Gabrielle pulled Simone aside. "Look at all this. Look at what you've built. We built it together." "No, sweetheart. You built this. The company, yes, but I mean all of it. Your home, your family, your community. You started with nothing and created everything that matters." Simone looked around at the people filling her yard, her house, her life. Nicole, who'd been her first friend in this city and had stayed by her side through everything. Her mother, who'd supported her even when she didn't understand all of Simone's choices. Tasha and the other colleagues who'd become friends. Cameron, who was laughing at something Zara said, who'd proven through a year of patient consistency that not all men were like Julian. And Zara, the center of it all, thriving and happy and so secure in being loved. This was her revenge. Not against Julian specifically, but against the life that had tried to break her. She'd taken her broken pieces and built something beautiful. She'd proven that you could start over at rock bottom and climb all the way to the top. She'd shown Zara that women didn't need rescuing, they could rescue themselves and flourish. As the sun set on the party, Simone found herself in her kitchen, looking out at the garden full of people she loved. Cameron came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. "Happy?" he asked. "Yeah," Simone said. "I really am." And she was. Not because she'd found a man or because she'd achieved some external measure of success. She was happy because she'd built a life on her own terms, with her own hands, by her own rules. She'd faced her worst nightmare, losing everything, starting over with nothing, and survived it. More than survived it. She'd thrived. That night, after everyone left and Zara was asleep, Simone sat in her garden with her journal. She'd kept journaling through all 5 years, documenting her journey from the scared woman in a tiny apartment to the CEO in her own house. She wrote, "5 years ago today I left Julian. I thought my life was ending. I thought I'd made the biggest mistake, that I'd never recover, that Zara and I would struggle forever. I was so wrong. My life wasn't ending. It was beginning. I didn't lose myself in that marriage, I just misplaced myself for a while. And when I left, I found her again. The strong woman I'd always been underneath. The capable, brilliant, resilient woman who could handle anything. I built this life from ashes. I built it for Zara and for me. I built it with love and determination and the refusal to let one man's betrayal define my worth. This is my happy ending. Not because I found Cameron, though I'm grateful for him. Not because I became CEO, though I'm proud of that. My happy ending is this: I'm free. Free from lies, from pretending, from accepting less than I deserve. I'm surrounded by people who choose me every day, not people I have to beg for scraps of attention. Zara is growing up strong and secure, never doubting that she's loved. And I wake up every morning in a house I own, in a life I built, with a future that's entirely mine to shape. Julian couldn't give me this. No one could give me this. I had to build it myself. And it's more beautiful than any life he could have offered. This is what revenge looks like: living well, loving fully, and never looking back. Simone closed the journal and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, Julian was living his life. She didn't know what that life looked like, didn't care to know. He was a closed chapter, a lesson learned, a reminder of who she never wanted to be again. Her story had moved on without him. And it was a beautiful story, full of the kind of happiness that came from authenticity, from hard work, from choosing yourself even when it was terrifying. She'd vanished into thin air 5 years ago. And she'd reappeared as someone magnificent. That was the best revenge of all.